the heart of the Limpopo province, where the sun beats down like a drum and the air hangs thick with the scent of dust and the whispers of ancestors. This ain't no fancy suburb, nah. We're talking deep rural, where the old ways still hold sway and the stories around the fire are more than just fairy tales. They're warnings. This is where our story begins, in a small, humble kraal nestled amongst the baobab trees. Our main man is Thabo, a hard-working bloke who loves his family more than pap and vlees. He's got a heart of gold, but he's also got a worry that gnaws at him like a Tokoloshe at a bone. He sees shadows where others don't, feels a cold breath on his neck when he's alone, and hears whispers that promise doom. He's convinced something bad is coming for his family, something he can't fight with his bare hands. He's a good man, Thabo, but fear can make even the best of us do crazy things. Then there's Nomusa, his wife, strong, independent, and a nurse at the local clinic. She's seen enough hardship in her life to know that most problems can be solved with a bit of common sense and a whole lot of elbow grease. She loves Thabo fiercely, but she can't quite understand his fears. She thinks he's letting his imagination run wild, that he needs to stop listening to the old wives' tales and focus on the here and now. She's a woman of science, of facts, and she struggles to believe in the things that go bump in the night. And their two kids, Sipho and Zulu. Sipho, the older one, is a typical young man, full of energy and mischief. He loves playing soccer with his mates and dreams of becoming a professional one day. He looks up to his dad, but he's also starting to question his fears. Zulu, the little one, is a sweet and sensitive child. She's got a vivid imagination and a strong connection to the spiritual world. She often talks to her gogo, who passed away a few years ago, and she seems to know things that she shouldn't. Thabo's fear. It's a dark cloud hanging over the family, poisoning their happiness and driving them apart. He's convinced that something evil is lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike. He tries to protect his family, but his fear only makes things worse. He starts isolating himself, becoming distant and withdrawn. Nomusa tries to reach him, but he pushes her away. The kids feel the tension in the house, and they start to act out. Thabo's desperation. He's willing to do anything to protect his family, even if it means making a deal with the devil himself. He seeks out a Sangoma, a traditional healer, and asks her to summon a Tokoloshe, a mischievous and malevolent spirit, to guard his home. But what he doesn't realize is that the Tokoloshe is more than just a protector. It's a force of chaos, a creature of darkness that will tear his family apart from the inside out. The question is, will Thabo realize his mistake before it's too late? Or will his fear consume him and destroy everything he loves? The setting is key, hey? We're talking about a small village, almost forgotten by time, nestled in the heart of the Bushveld. Think red earth, thorny acacia trees scratching at the sky, and the constant hum of insects in the air. The houses are simple, made of mud and thatch, clustered together like a family seeking warmth. Life here is hard, dependent on the rain and the goodwill of the ancestors. Everyone knows everyone else's business, and tradition is everything. The local clinic, where Nomusa works, is a lifeline, a beacon of hope in a place where modern medicine is still viewed with suspicion by some. The shebeen, on the other hand, is the heart of the community, a place where men gather to share stories, drink kamathai, and forget their troubles. He wasn't always this fearful. He grew up listening to his gogo's tales of the Tokoloshe, but he never really believed them. But then, a few years ago, he witnessed something he couldn't explain. He was walking home late one night when he saw a strange light in the forest. He went to investigate, and he saw a small, hairy creature darting between the trees. It vanished before he could get a good look, but the image stuck with him. That's when the nightmares started, and the feeling that something was watching him. He's a good man, Thabo, a loving husband and father, but he's carrying a heavy burden of fear. Nomusa, on the other hand, is a pragmatist. She grew up in a city, got a good education, and chose to return to her rural roots to help her community. She's seen poverty, sickness, and death, but she's never lost her faith in the power of science and reason. She loves Thabo deeply, but she struggles to understand his fears. She sees them as a weakness, something he needs to overcome. She believes in hard work, honesty, and taking care of her family. She's a pillar of strength, a woman who can handle anything life throws at her, or so she thinks. Sipho is a typical young boy, full of energy and dreams. He loves soccer, and he's got a real talent for it. He dreams of playing for Kaiser Chiefs one day, of escaping the poverty of his village and making a name for himself. He's starting to question his father's fears, seeing them as silly and irrational. He wants to be strong, like his mother, not scared, like his father. Zinhal is different. She's quiet and introspective, with a deep connection to the spiritual world. She sees things that others don't, and she often talks to her deceased grandmother. She's more attuned to Thabo's fears, and she senses the darkness that's closing in on their family. Their relationships are complex, a mix of love, fear, and resentment. Thabo and Nomusa love each other, but their different perspectives are driving them apart. Sipho is starting to resent his father's fears, while Zinhal is drawn closer to him. The family is a unit, but it's a unit under pressure, a unit on the verge of breaking. The Tokoloshe is just the catalyst, the spark that will ignite the fire. Ag shame, things go south fast, hey? Thabo's fear spirals. Nomusa discovers the Tokoloshe, and Sipho's true parentage is revealed, tearing the family apart. The spirit's influence grows, turning their home into a battlefield of secrets and lies. Okay, so now the Dampus hits the fan, hey? Thabo's main goal, right from the start, was to protect his family. He thought the Tokoloshe was the answer, the ultimate security system against whatever darkness he felt closing in. But now, the Tokoloshe is the biggest obstacle of all. It's turned his home into a place of fear and suspicion, and it's driving his family apart. He's gotta find a way to get rid of it, but he's made a pact, and breaking that ain't gonna be easy. He's basically stuck between a rock and a hard place, a proper catch-22 situation. Nomusa's goal is to save her family from Thabo's paranoia. She wants him to see reason, to understand that his fears are unfounded. But the more she tries to help him, the more he pushes her away. She starts to suspect that something else is going on, something she can't explain. She sees the changes in Thabo, the coldness in his eyes, and she knows that he's hiding something. Her goal shifts from curing his fear to uncovering his secret. She starts digging, asking questions, and that's when she stumbles upon the truth about the Tokoloshe. Sipho's goal is to escape the small-town life. He wants to make something of himself, to become a soccer star and leave the poverty behind. But his father's fear is holding him back. He can't focus on his training. He can't concentrate in school. He's starting to resent his father, to see him as a weakling. Then, he overhears a conversation between his parents, a fight that reveals a shocking secret about his true parentage. His world is turned upside down, and his goal becomes even more urgent. He needs to get out, to find his own identity, to escape the shadow of his family's curse. Zinhal's goal is to protect her family from the darkness she senses. She's more attuned to the spiritual world than the others, and she knows that the Tokoloshe is real. She sees it in her dreams. She feels its presence in the house. She tries to warn her parents, but they don't listen to her. They dismiss her as a child with an overactive imagination. So, she takes matters into her own hands. She starts researching the Tokoloshe, talking to the elders in the village, trying to find a way to defeat it. She's a little girl, but she's got a warrior's heart. The subplot? The mystery surrounding Sipho's real father. Who was he? Why did Nomusa keep it a secret? And what does this mean for Sipho's future? This adds another layer of tension to the story, another reason for the family to fall apart. It also raises questions about identity, belonging, and the secrets that families keep. It's a proper tangled web, hey? And the Tokoloshe is just waiting to pounce on any weakness it can find. It starts small, subtle things. Zinhul starts having nightmares, waking up screaming in the middle of the night. She tells her parents that the Tokoloshe is whispering to her in her dreams, telling her to do bad things. Thabo dismisses it as a child's imagination, but Nomusa starts to worry. She sees the fear in Zinhul's eyes, and she knows that something is wrong. She tries to talk to Thabo about it, but he refuses to listen. He's convinced that the Tokoloshe is still protecting them, that everything is fine. He's in denial, blinded by his own fear. Then things escalate. Sipho starts getting into fights at school, becoming more aggressive and rebellious. He's always been a bit of a troublemaker, but now he's completely out of control. He starts hanging out with the wrong crowd, skipping classes, and getting into trouble with the police. Nomusa tries to intervene, but he pushes her away. He's angry, confused, and lost. He doesn't know who he is anymore, or where he belongs. The Tokoloshe is feeding on his anger, amplifying his negative emotions, and turning him into a ticking time bomb. The most terrifying incident happens one night when Nomusa is working late at the clinic. Thabo is home alone with the kids, and a storm is raging outside. The power goes out, plunging the house into darkness. Thabo tries to light a candle, but the wind keeps blowing it out. He's starting to get scared, feeling that old familiar fear creeping back into his heart. Then he hears a noise upstairs. He grabs a knobkerrie and creeps up the stairs, his heart pounding in his chest. He finds Zinhul's room empty. He calls out her name, but there's no answer. He searches the house, but she's nowhere to be found. He's frantic, terrified that something has happened to her. He runs outside into the storm, calling her name. Then he hears a faint cry coming from the forest. He follows the sound, deeper and deeper into the darkness. He finds Zinhul standing by a river, staring into the water. She's in a trance, her eyes wide and vacant. As Thabo approaches, he sees a small, hairy creature standing behind her. It's the Tokoloshe, and it's whispering to her, urging her to jump into the river. Thabo realizes the horrifying truth. The Tokoloshe is not protecting his family, it's trying to destroy them. He lunges at the Tokoloshe, swinging his knobkerrie with all his might. But the Tokoloshe is too quick. It disappears into the darkness, leaving Thabo alone with his daughter. This is the turning point, the moment when Thabo realizes the terrible mistake he's made. He's got to find a way to stop the Tokoloshe, to save his family from the darkness he unleashed. But how? Okay, so after the Tokoloshe tries to drown Zinhul, things go from bad to proper cack. Hey, Thabo finally sees the light, but now he's got to deal with the consequences of his actions. He's got to figure out how to get rid of the Tokoloshe, but he's in deep, and the spirit ain't gonna let go easily. The first consequence is the strain on his relationship with Nomusa. She's furious with him for bringing the Tokoloshe into their lives, for putting their children in danger. She doesn't trust him anymore, and she's questioning everything he's ever told her. She starts sleeping in a separate room, and the house feels colder than a high-veld winter. Thabo tries to apologize, to explain his fears, but she won't listen. She's closed off, her heart hardened by his betrayal. He's got to find a way to earn back her trust, but it's gonna be a long and difficult road. Then there's Sipho. He's spiraling out of control, getting deeper and deeper into trouble. He's skipping school, doing drugs, and hanging out with a gang of thugs. He's angry at his father for being weak, and he's angry at his mother for keeping secrets from him. He feels lost and alone, and he's lashing out at everyone around him. Thabo tries to reach out to him, but Sipho rejects him. He sees Thabo as a failure, a man who couldn't protect his own family. Thabo's got to find a way to connect with Sipho, to guide him back onto the right path, but it's like trying to grab smoke. Zinhul is traumatized by her experience with the Tokoloshe. She's withdrawn, scared, and constantly looking over her shoulder. She refuses to go outside, and she has nightmares every night. She's convinced that the Tokoloshe is still watching her, waiting for another chance to strike. Thabo feels responsible for her fear, and he's determined to protect her. He starts researching ways to ward off evil spirits, consulting with the elders in the village, and learning about traditional remedies. He's got to find a way to heal Zinhol's trauma, to restore her sense of safety and security. A new character enters the scene, Gogo Mapula, a wise old woman who lives on the outskirts of the village. She's a traditional healer, a Sangoma, and she knows a thing or two about Tokoloshes. Thabo seeks her out, hoping she can help him get rid of the spirit. Gogo Mapula warns him that it won't be easy, that the Tokoloshe is powerful and vengeful. She tells him that he'll have to perform a series of rituals, make sacrifices, and confront his own fears. She agrees to help him, but she warns him that there's no guarantee of success. The setting expands beyond Thabo's home and the village. He has to travel to remote locations, sacred sites, and forgotten places in his quest to defeat the Tokoloshe. He visits ancient ruins, where he communes with the spirits of his ancestors. He climbs to the top of a sacred mountain, where he performs a cleansing ritual. He ventures into a dark and forbidding forest, where he confronts his own demons. These journeys test his courage, his faith, and his resolve. He's got to be strong. He's got to be determined, or the Tokoloshe will win. A new subplot emerges, the mystery surrounding the Sangoma who summoned the Tokoloshe in the first place. Thabo starts to wonder if she had ulterior motives, if she deliberately unleashed the spirit on his family. He starts investigating her past, digging into her secrets, and uncovering a web of deceit and betrayal. He discovers that she had a personal vendetta against his family, a grudge that went back generations. He realizes that he's not just fighting a Tokoloshe, he's fighting a human enemy as well. The conflict between Thabo and Nomusa escalates. She's found out about his secret meetings with Gogo Mapula, and she's convinced that he's gone completely mad. She threatens to leave him, to take the kids and start a new life somewhere far away from the village. Thabo is desperate to keep his family together, but he can't tell her the truth about the Sangomas' vendetta. He's caught between a rock and a hard place, forced to choose between his wife and his family's safety. He tries to explain, but she won't listen. She's lost all faith in him, and their relationship is hanging by a thread. Sipho's situation worsens. He's now deeply involved with the gang, and he's committing petty crimes to earn their respect. He's starting to lose himself, becoming more and more like the thugs he hangs out with. Thabo tries to intervene, but Sipho refuses to listen. He sees Thabo as a hypocrite, a man who talks about protecting his family, but can't even protect himself. Thabo realizes that he's losing his son, and he's terrified that Sipho will end up in jail, or worse. He's got to find a way to reach him, to pull him back from the brink, but he doesn't know how. Zinhol's fear intensifies. She's convinced that the Tokoloshe is watching her, waiting for her to be alone. She starts having panic attacks, and she refuses to leave her room. Thabo tries to comfort her, but he can't shake the feeling that she's right. He knows that the Tokoloshe is still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for its chance to strike. He starts sleeping outside her door, guarding her from the darkness. He's determined to protect her, even if it means sacrificing his own life. The subplot surrounding the Sangomas' vendetta deepens. Thabo discovers that her grudge against his family stems from a land dispute that happened generations ago. Her ancestors were cheated out of their land by Thabo's ancestors, and she's been plotting revenge ever since. She saw Thabo's fear as an opportunity to strike, to unleash the Tokoloshe on his family and destroy them from within. Thabo realizes that he's not just fighting a supernatural enemy, he's fighting a human one as well, a woman driven by hatred and a thirst for revenge. The stakes escalate when the Tokoloshe starts targeting Nomusa. It starts appearing in her dreams, tormenting her with visions of death and destruction. It tries to convince her that Thabo is the enemy, that he's trying to kill her. Nomusa starts to believe it, her mind poisoned by the Tokoloshe's influence. She becomes paranoid, suspicious of everyone around her. She starts carrying a knife, convinced that she needs to protect herself. Thabo realizes that the Tokoloshe is trying to turn Nomusa against him, to destroy their relationship and leave him vulnerable. He's got to find a way to break the Tokoloshe's hold on her, to save her from its evil influence. The tension among the characters reaches breaking point. Thabo and Nomusa are constantly arguing, their relationship strained to the breaking point. Sipho is rebelling, pushing his parents away and embracing a life of crime. Zinhal is terrified, haunted by the Tokoloshe's presence. The family is on the verge of collapse, torn apart by fear, suspicion, and resentment. The Tokoloshe is winning, and Thabo is running out of time. A major turning point happens when Sipho is arrested for his involvement in a robbery. He's facing serious charges, and he could end up spending years in jail. Thabo and Nomusa are devastated, but they also see this as an opportunity to help him. They hire a lawyer, and they promise to support him, no matter what. Sipho is touched by their support, and he starts to realize that his parents aren't so bad after all. He decides to turn his life around, to leave the gang behind and make something of himself. This is a pivotal moment for Sipho, a chance for redemption. Another turning point occurs when Thabo finally confronts the Sangoma who summoned the Tokoloshe. He tracks her down to her hut on the outskirts of the village, and he demands to know why she did it. The Sangoma reveals her family's history, her ancestors' land dispute, and her desire for revenge. She tells Thabo that she wanted to destroy his family, to make him suffer the same way her family had suffered. Thabo is shocked by her hatred, but he also feels a sense of pity for her. He realizes that she's just as much a victim of the past as he is. A significant character development happens with Nomusa. She finally starts to believe Thabo about the Tokoloshe. She sees the fear in Zinhal's eyes. She witnesses the changes in Sipho, and she can no longer deny the truth. She realizes that Thabo wasn't crazy. He was just trying to protect his family. She apologizes to him for doubting him, and she promises to stand by him no matter what. This is a turning point for their relationship, a chance for them to rebuild their trust and reconnect with each other. The Tokoloshe, sensing that its power is waning, becomes more aggressive. It starts appearing in physical form, tormenting the family with its presence. It lurks in the shadows, whispers in their ears, and tries to turn them against each other. Thabo realizes that he has to act fast, or the Tokoloshe will destroy his family completely. He consults with Gogo Mapula, and she tells him that the only way to defeat the Tokoloshe is to confront it directly, in a sacred place, at a specific time. The climax is set up when Thabo discovers the location of the Tokoloshe's lair, an ancient cave hidden deep within the forest. He gathers his family, and they prepare to confront the spirit. They know that it will be a dangerous battle, but they're determined to fight for their lives, for their family, and for their future. They arm themselves with traditional weapons, gather their courage, and head into the forest, ready to face the darkness. This is it, the moment of truth. Will they succeed in defeating the Tokoloshe, or will they become its next victims? The family's journey to the cave is fraught with danger. The Tokoloshe tries to stop them, creating obstacles in their path, sending wild animals to attack them, and conjuring illusions to confuse them. But Thabo, Nomusa, Sipho, and Zinhal are determined to persevere. They work together, using their strengths to overcome the challenges. Thabo's knowledge of the forest helps them navigate the terrain. Nomusa's medical skills help them heal their wounds. Sipho's street smarts help them avoid traps, and Zinhal's connection to the spiritual world helps them sense danger. They're a team, united by their love for each other and their determination to survive. A minor confrontation occurs when they encounter the Sangoma who summoned the Tokoloshe. She's waiting for them near the entrance to the cave, and she tries to convince them to turn back. She tells them that they can't defeat the Tokoloshe, that it's too powerful. She tries to guilt them, reminding them of her family's history and her desire for revenge. But Thabo refuses to be swayed. He tells her that he forgives her, but he won't let her stop him from protecting his family. He confronts her with her own pain and suffering, and he urges her to let go of her hatred. The Sangoma is moved by his words, and she has a change of heart. She decides to help them, to use her knowledge of the spirit world to aid them in their battle against the Tokoloshe. Foreshadowing comes in the form of dreams and visions. Zinhul has a dream in which she sees the Tokoloshe's weakness, a sacred amulet that it wears around its neck. She tells her family about the dream, and they realize that they have to find a way to get the amulet if they want to defeat the spirit. Sipho has a vision in which he sees himself sacrificing his own life to save his family. He doesn't tell anyone about the vision, but he knows that he may have to make the ultimate sacrifice. A character alliance forms between Sipho and the Sangoma. She agrees to guide them through the cave, to help them find the Tokoloshe's lair, and to provide them with magical protection. She tells them about the Tokoloshe's weaknesses, its fears, and its vulnerabilities. She teaches them ancient rituals and spells that can be used to weaken the spirit. Sipho is grateful for her help, but he also knows that she can't be fully trusted. She still has her own agenda, and she may betray them at any moment. A minor plot resolution occurs when Sipho reconciles with his parents. He apologizes for his behavior, for his anger, and for his disrespect. He tells them that he loves them and that he's proud to be their son. Sipho and Nomusa forgive him, and they embrace him. This is a healing moment for the family, a chance for them to put the past behind them and move forward together. They're stronger now, united by their love and their shared purpose. The stage is set for the climax. The family reaches the entrance to the cave, and they prepare to enter the Tokoloshe's lair. They know that it will be a dangerous battle, but they're ready to face whatever comes their way. They take a deep breath, steel their nerves, and step into the darkness. The fate of their family, and perhaps the fate of the entire village, hangs in the balance. Inside the cave, the family faces their final challenges. The Tokoloshe uses its powers to disorient them, creating illusions that play on their deepest fears and insecurities. Sipho sees visions of his past mistakes, his failures as a father and a husband. Nomusa sees visions of her own death, of her children being orphaned and alone. Sipho sees visions of his future, of ending up in jail, wasting his life away. Zinhul sees visions of the Tokoloshe consuming the entire world, plunging everything into darkness. They have to fight these illusions, to stay grounded in reality, and to trust each other. The emotional stakes are raised when the Tokoloshe tries to turn them against each other. It whispers lies in their ears, trying to convince them that their family members are betraying them. It tells Sipho that Nomusa is still in love with Sipho's real father. It tells Nomusa that Sipho is planning to sacrifice Zinhul to appease the Tokoloshe. It tells Sipho that Sipho and Nomusa never really loved him, that they only tolerated him because they felt sorry for him. It tells Zinhul that her family is doomed, that they're all going to die. They have to resist these lies, to remember the love that binds them together, and to trust their instincts. The narrative threads begin to converge. Sipho realizes that the only way to defeat the Tokoloshe is to confront his own fear. He has to accept his past mistakes, forgive himself for his failures, and embrace his role as a protector. Nomusa realizes that she has to trust Sipho, to believe in his strength, and to support him, no matter what. Sipho realizes that he has to use his street smarts to help his family, to protect them from danger, and to prove that he's not a failure. Zinhul realizes that she has to use her connection to the spiritual world to guide them, to sense the Tokoloshe's presence, and to find its weakness. The Sangoma plays a crucial role in preparing them for the final confrontation. She reveals the Tokoloshe's true name, a word of power that can be used to weaken it. She tells them about the Tokoloshe's sacred amulet, the source of its power. She teaches them a ritual that can be used to banish the spirit back to the underworld. She gives them each a protective charm, an object imbued with ancient magic that can ward off evil. She warns them that the battle will be difficult, that they may have to make sacrifices, but she assures them that they're not alone. The ancestors are watching over them, and they're ready to help them in their time of need. The family reaches the heart of the cave, the Tokoloshe's lair. It's a dark and forbidding place, filled with eerie shadows and strange sounds. The air is thick with the stench of decay, and the ground is littered with bones. The Tokoloshe is waiting for them, its eyes glowing with malevolent glee. It's surrounded by a circle of fire, and it's chanting in a guttural language. The final battle is about to begin. The battle begins. The Tokoloshe unleashes its full power, conjuring storms, summoning demons, and attacking the family with its sharp claws and teeth. Sipho, Nomusa, Sipho, and Zinhul fight back with all their might, using their weapons, their magic, and their courage. Sipho confronts the Tokoloshe directly, engaging it in a fierce hand-to-hand combat. Nomusa uses her medical skills to heal their wounds and protect them from harm. Sipho uses his street smarts to outwit the Tokoloshe's traps and ambushes. Zinhul uses her connection to the spiritual world to sense the Tokoloshe's movements and guide their attacks. They're a force to be reckoned with, a family united against evil. A decisive confrontation occurs when Sipho manages to grab the Tokoloshe's sacred amulet. He remembers Zinhul's dream, and he knows that this is the key to defeating the spirit. He holds the amulet aloft, and he shouts the Tokoloshe's true name, the word of power that the Sangoma revealed. The Tokoloshe shrieks in pain, its body writhing in agony. It tries to snatch the amulet back, but Sipho holds on tight. He refuses to let go, even as the Tokoloshe claws at him, bites him, and tries to tear him apart. The main conflict is resolved when the Sangoma steps forward. She realizes that she can't let her hatred consume her any longer. She has to let go of the past, forgive her enemies, and embrace a future of peace. She joins Sipho in the fight against the Tokoloshe, using her magic to weaken the spirit and help him hold onto the amulet. Together, they chant the ancient ritual, the spell that can banish the Tokoloshe back to the underworld. The Tokoloshe screams in terror, its body disintegrating into dust. It's defeated, banished, and gone forever. The subplots are brought to a close. Sipho proves his worth, using his street smarts to save his family from a deadly trap. He shows that he's not a failure, that he can be a hero. Nomusa embraces her role as a healer, using her medical skills to save Sipho's life after he's severely wounded in the battle. She shows that she's strong, capable, and a true partner to Sipho. Sipho confronts his own fear, accepting his past mistakes and embracing his role as a protector. He shows that he's a good man, a loving father, and a worthy leader. Zinhul embraces her connection to the spiritual world, using her powers to guide her family and defeat the Tokoloshe. She shows that she's wise beyond her years, a true spiritual warrior. The thematic closures are achieved. The family learns the importance of love, forgiveness, and unity. They realize that they can overcome any challenge, as long as they stick together. They learn that fear can be a powerful force, but it can also be overcome with courage and determination. They learn that the past can haunt us, but it doesn't have to define us. They learn that we can choose our own destiny and that we can create a better future for ourselves and our families. Sipho, severely wounded from the battle, knows he's not going to make it. He uses his last breaths to tell his family how much he loves them, how proud he is of them, and how sorry he is for the pain he caused. He asks Nomusa to forgive him, to take care of the children, and to never let fear control her life. He asks Sipho to be a good man, to make something of himself, and to always protect his family. He asks Zinhul to embrace her gift, to use her connection to the spiritual world for good, and to never forget her roots. He dies peacefully, surrounded by his loved ones, a hero in their eyes. Nomusa, grief-stricken but resolute, takes over as the head of the family. She becomes a pillar of strength, a role model for her children, and a respected member of the community. She uses her medical skills to heal the sick, her wisdom to guide the lost, and her love to unite the divided. She never forgets Sipho, but she doesn't let his death define her life. She honors his memory by living a life of courage, compassion, and purpose. Sipho, inspired by his father's sacrifice, turns his life around. He leaves the gang, returns to school, and dedicates himself to his studies. He becomes a role model for other young people in the village, showing them that it's possible to escape poverty and make something of themselves. He never forgets his past, but he doesn't let it hold him back. He uses his experiences to help others, to guide them away from the path of crime and towards a life of hope and opportunity. Zinhul embraces her gift, becoming a traditional healer, a Sangoma, like Gogo Mapula. She uses her connection to the spiritual world to help people connect with their ancestors, to heal their wounds, and to find their purpose. She becomes a bridge between the living and the dead, a guide for those who are lost in the darkness. She never forgets the Tokoloshe, but she doesn't let it fill her with fear. She uses her knowledge of the spirit world to protect her community from evil, to ward off darkness, and to bring light into the world. The moral lesson of the story is clear. Fear can be a powerful force, but it can be overcome with love, forgiveness, and unity. The family learned that they could face any challenge as long as they stuck together. They learned that the past can haunt us, but it doesn't have to define us. They learned that we can choose our own destiny and that we can create a better future for ourselves and our families. The future is hinted at in the final scene. Zinhul, now an old woman, is sitting by the fire, telling the story of the Tokoloshe to a group of children. She warns them about the dangers of dabbling in the dark arts, but she also tells them about the power of love and forgiveness.